share my travels with you. If this is your first time here, hope you like this adventure and come back to watch more. Well, welcome back to the Ladakh series. We spent nearly a month in Ladakh, hired a car and traveled to many beautiful remote places. In this episode, I take you through Sham Valley. Sham Valley is very easy to get to from Leh, and it lies on that national highway stretching from Leh all the way to Srinagar, and it's about the first 100 kilometers from Leh. There are many interesting spots along the way, and the aim was to cover the first 9 on this trip, which started at Leh, and then I returned back to Leh. Unfortunately, John picked up a stomach bug, so he couldn't be on this trip, so it was just me and Abu, the driver. If doing a return trip from Leh to Leh, I suggest an earlier start. We started at 9 a.m. due to a mix-up, and also to cover the furthest place first and then visit all the other places on your way back. Not to be missed is this very well-kept museum of war and Ladakhi culture called Hall of Fame. I spent a good hour in the Hall of Fame and learned a lot about the history of the Indo-Pakistan and Indo-Chinese wars. I got to know of the famous war heroes that were so brave and laid their lives for the protection of India. So many beautiful stories were displayed in the museum. Was fascinated by how the Siachen warriors train and travel through such rugged terrain full of snow to protect India's boundaries. Then when I returned to Australia, I watched a whole lot of movies from Operation Vijay to LOC Kargil. Sher Shah was fantastic. So enjoyed understanding more of that history. The museum also showcased Ladakhi culture and attire. It was a great way of understanding Ladakhi culture, the geography of Ladakh, and how important a role it plays in India's security. The brave hearts and their stories moved me a lot. Continuing west on the highway, Phyang Monastery is next. We passed Spituk Monastery on the way, didn't have time to stop there, but just continued on the national highway. And what struck me was the number of military camps along the way. But saw a lot of military trucks, and after we had done our cursory check, we kept heading west on the national highway. I really enjoyed seeing all the trucks along this national highway, brightly colored with lots of sayings like "Horn please." Trucks parked along the highway where truckies take breaks at dhabas. The national highway runs parallel to the Indus River for a long way, and it forms the main route for transport of goods, as there are no trains in this area. So we took a right turn from the highway and got to Phyang through Muslim communities, and you always get reminded that not only there is a strong Buddhist culture, but also the Muslims live side by side in this mountainous region of Ladakh. Phyang village is very scenic, located in this valley surrounded by tall mountains, tall willow trees, or maybe poplar trees. And here we were. Perched high up on the hill, looked more like a castle, was the beautiful Phyang Gompa or Phyang Monastery. The colors were so impressive. I marveled at how old this building was, 16th century, and so beautifully preserved. Incredible. They have a lot of dances here, but I didn't come at that time. It was closed. That's the lock. Luckily for me, there was a monk who had the keys and he let me in. The colors and the incredible paintings, vivid paintings in the main prayer hall hit me. A huge big statue of Buddha with the intricately carved wooden carvings all around. The many mandalas on the ceiling conducive to meditation. Beautiful. This Phyang monastery also boasts of the largest thangka or paintings in Ladakh. It was a very nice experience. Beautiful views. You could spend hours just sitting there. So we had to drive back onto the highway, and then location number 3 was our next destination. Our next stop was a Sikh temple of worship. So yes, you have the Muslims, the Buddhists, the Sikh history as well in this region. There are many stories about how a Gurudwara, a Sikh temple of worship, came to be here in Ladakh. Guru Nanak, the Sikh saint, had travelled to the east, far east, to Nepal, Tibet, Sikkim, and he was, I believe, returning to Punjab via Leh and Srinagar. So the story goes that he rested at this spot. The story says that as Guru Nanak rested and meditated here, he was attacked by a demon who was trying to crush him with a boulder, and he defeated this demon. The story goes that where Guru Nanak rested against a boulder, it had left the indentation of his back, and so this rock was revered, and in respect to this saint, a Sikh Gurdwara was built around this stone. Another story goes that yes, Guru Nanak had visited this spot on his way back from the Far East back to Punjab, and so the Sikhs wanted to build a Gurudwara in honor of the saint, and they chose this spot because this is where I believe he rested. When workers were building the national highway, the big rock that just could not be moved, so they built the Sikh temple around the rock, and that's why it's Gurudwara Patthar Sahib. This was a brief stop, and then we continued along the highway towards Magnetic Hill. Along this stretch of the highway, mind you, it's a very busy highway, there were multiple signs, interesting signs, humorous signs, kept me smiling all along the way. In fact, somebody's even published a book on the road signs of Ladakh. After drinking whiskey, driving is risky. You booze, you cruise, you lose. Be Mr. Late better than late Mr. Life is short. Don't make it shorter. Fast and Furious makes you injurious. You know, it just kept going and going and going until we reached Magnetic Hill. The attraction of Magnetic Hill is a belief that although the road is inclined upwards, if you park your car in neutral, the car automatically moves uphill. But this is an illusion. The truth is that due to the surrounding geographical features, it appears like as if the road is going uphill. It's an illusion. The road is actually sloping downhill, and so the car just moves on its own. But it's become a tourist place, so I also took my cursory tourist picture there. So we continued westwards again to our next spot, which was the meeting of two rivers. The Indus River, which we were following, met with the Zanskar River. That's spot number 5 on the map, and about 33 kilometers or so from Leh. You get a great view from the top of the hill of the point where the two rivers meet, the Zanskar and the Indus. The green river is the Indus River, and the muddy color that we can see is the Zanskar River. The road winds around tall mountains, and one has to be careful because you can have these hazards like repair trucks parked along the way with not much signage, so oncoming traffic move onto your side of the lane. So we were around 11,500 feet or 3,500 meters above sea level. On this day trip, I was on my own, and because I was seeing so many places, I didn't drive down to the meeting point. I did so with John the next time. We drove down towards the meeting point. It's really worth going down to see it close up. Here we are at Sangam, which is the union of two rivers, and hence the name Sangam or union. On the left here is the Indus River, which is greeny blue, and you can see the Zanskar River coming from there. The Zanskar River goes all the way into Zanskar Valley, which was the big adventure I was looking forward to in days to come. The red line that I've shown on this map indicates the new road that is going to connect from this point into Zanskar Valley. That's the road over there. But for our trip, we had to drive all the way to Lama Yuru and then follow the blue line. This we did after we had covered Nubra Valley, Pangong Lake, and then came back to Leh, and then went back down this road all the way to Lama Yuru. This is also a point where a lot of people go whitewater rafting. There are not many toilets along the way, but Sangam had a really good toilet, clean. So after we had a pit stop and a drink, we headed off towards our next stop, which is number 6 on this map, Nimmoo Village. So we were about 35 kilometers from Leh at this stage. You could see it in the distance. I really liked this village. Lots of barley fields. I liked the way the roofs were flat and then they had stacked all the hay on top. It is a very large army base, Nimmoo, and it's on that highway to Srinagar. So we didn't stop at Nimmoo Village, but I wish I had spent one night in Nimmoo Village. There's lots of homestays that one can find here. We continued on to our next stop, Basgo village and Gompa, which is number 7 on the map. As we were driving through, I noticed a distinct change in color of the rock. It had gone to almost this dark brown, purpley almost color. We had to go inside Basgo village, which is a very ancient village. It was developed as early as the 15th century. I saw a lot of these stupas along the way, dotted all along that road. वो देखो ऊपर, वो क्या है? कासल है ना गोम्पा है? There it was on the top of that hill. You could see this from the main highway. But we still had to drive into Basgo village, and it was quite a lovely village really. I liked the views. There was a river crossing we had to do. The houses were so charming, and they were getting ready for the winter, so they were stacking firewood on the top. The hay was going on the top of the roofs. No, very, very pretty. So we drove towards the hill, and it was just a fascinating place to visit, Basgo Monastery. The rock formation there was almost like as if you had landed on the moon, so made for a very interesting backdrop. It's actually got 3 lots of temples in the Basgo complex.
Basgo monastery. Some landscape. This looks like a moonscape. And then there's greenery out there. Wind erosion, but this was all underwater.
This was the backdrop where the Bollywood movie Dil Se, starring Shah Rukh Khan and Monisha Koirala, was shot.
Beautiful retaining wall. This is something else. Incredible. Late 17th century. 3 temples and the castle.
Decided to go visit the tallest structure, which is where the Maitra Buddha, the big 45-foot statue of Buddha, is kept in the Chamba Lakhang temple. I couldn't see anyone, but the door was open, so I kept climbing up these stairs. It's quite a task, especially because this is at 3,500 meters, so you still feel a bit puffed, although you're trying to acclimatize. And this was my 3rd day, but I struggled getting up these stairs.
Just magnificent. Worth those steps.
So at the highest point of this citadel is the massive 45-foot idol of Buddha. The head of the deity is encased within the skylight at the top of the building. There's a beautiful paintings, the life of Buddha. Enjoyed that. It was so very peaceful up here. I could have sat there for hours. Beautiful, beautiful place. Simply worth visiting. Basgo Monastery. Enjoyed the views coming down. So once I got down, I made my way towards the Serzang Chamba temple, but this is the one that was closed. But instead walked around the more beautiful of the structures called Chamchung, and this temple jutted out onto the mountain. Absolutely gorgeous place. That was quite a drop looking down. So it was built quite high on this retaining wall, all made of stone. Enjoyed just going around the balcony and thinking, what would it be like to sit here and meditate? Magical place. Thoroughly enjoyed visiting Basgo. Well worth a visit. Well, I had 2 more places to visit. Likir Gompa, which is number 8 on the map, and Saspol Caves, number 9, before we headed back to Leh. This is in Sham Valley Part 2. So join me in my next episode where I take you through my next destination. Until then, take care, be safe, and see you next time.